Welcome. Tonight we're going to open up a verse you think you know, a line that opens one of the most famous stories in the world. These are the generations of Noah. But what if that simple phrase isn't a genealogy at all? What if it's a key, a code, that unlocks the very architecture of reality? Well, let's dive in and explore the Noah Code.
All right, so here's our game plan for this journey. We're going to start with a riddle that's hiding in plain sight, right in Noah's introduction. Then we'll actually map out the cosmic blueprint of existence. From there, we'll get into what it truly means to be the foundation of the world, and we'll even use a cool tech analogy, the divine firewall, to make it all click. We'll explore this from two angles, and then finally, we'll uncover the real, lasting legacy Noah left for every single one of us. Okay, let's get right into it. The Torah says these are the generations of Noah. And you naturally expect a list of his kids, right? Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But that's not what the Torah does. It immediately pivots and says, Noah was a righteous man. So the Zohar asks a brilliant question. Why is his character presented as his primary generation, his legacy, before we even hear about his family? And this is where the Zohar just blows the whole thing wide open. It connects Noah's identity as a tzaddik, a righteous person, to this incredible, powerful verse from Proverbs. The righteous one is the foundation of the world. This isn't poetry. The Zohar is telling us that Noah's true descendants, his real legacy, wasn't just his kids. It was the cosmic function he served. He was quite literally the foundation for the entire world to continue. So, that leads us to the big question, doesn't it? What does that even mean? How can one person be the foundation of reality? We need to move past the metaphor and get into the mechanics. So let's put on our cosmic engineering hats, because to understand Noah, we first have to understand the spiritual physics of how a single person can literally uphold all of creation. To get this, we have to look at the master blueprint of reality itself, the 10 Sephirot. Now, don't let that word scare you off. Just think of the Sephirots as the divine operating system for the universe. They're the stages, the channels, through which the infinite, unknowable light of God steps down, gets structured, and ultimately becomes the physical world we see and touch. So you have this flow. At the very top, you have the endless, infinite source, Ein Sof. For our purposes, let's call the giving realms heaven. And down at the very bottom, you have our physical reality, Malkut. Let's call that Earth, the ultimate receiver. Now, for life to exist, for our world to have any vitality at all, there has to be a constant, healthy flow of this divine energy from heaven to earth. But, and this is the absolute key, that connection isn't automatic. It requires a perfect bridge, a perfect conduit. And that bridge, that cosmic conduit, is the Sephirah known as Yesod, which literally means foundation. Now, here's where it gets personal. A human being who completely aligns with and masters the energy of this Sephirah, who becomes a living, walking, breathing embodiment of that cosmic bridge, that person is called a tzaddik, a righteous one. Let's dig into Yesod for a second. Imagine all the divine energies, love, discipline, harmony, victory, all of them flowing down from above like these massive rivers of light. Yesod is the point where all those rivers converge. It acts like a giant cosmic funnel or a hydroelectric dam. It gathers all that raw power, concentrates it, and then channels it into a focused, stable, life-giving stream that can be received by our world. You see, without a working Yesod, our world is basically cut off from its power source. Okay, but this channel, this Yesod, isn't just empty plumbing. It runs on a very specific operating system, a sacred protocol. And that protocol is called the Brit, the covenant. The Brit is the set of spiritual laws, the sacred handshake, that ensures the energy flowing through is pure, balanced, and life-sustaining. It's the integrity of the whole system. And this, right here, is where it all snaps together. A tzaddik, a righteous person, isn't just someone who's, nice or good. A tzaddik is a person who lives in perfect, moment-to-moment alignment with the Brit, with the covenant. By guarding this sacred connection in everything they think, say, and do, they literally transform their own being into a human version of Yesod. They become a living conduit for life itself. And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. We have the ultimate case study, Joseph, who is famously known as Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph the Righteous. And why did he earn that title? Because he guarded the covenant in a moment of extreme trial, showing the kind of self-mastery that perfects this quality of Yesod within a person. So let's bring this all back to Noah. The world before the flood was corrupt, which means in our terms, the Brit, the covenant, was broken. The connection between heaven and earth was clogged with, let's call it spiritual malware. The ark was basically the hardware for a new world, a new malchut, but it needed a power source. Noah, as the tzaddik, the one person who still embodied the covenant, became that living power source. He was the yesod that docked with the ark to reboot all of creation.
I know. This is some really deep, mystical stuff. So to help it land, to really make it tangible, let's try translating it all into a modern tech analogy. Let's think about the entire cosmic system as a divine computer network.
So in this model, the infinite divine light, Ein Sof, that's the cloud, a limitless, overwhelming power source. The Sephirot, they act like an API, an application programming interface, that regulates that energy so it doesn't fry the system. The Brit, the covenant, that's your security protocol, your essential firewall. The Tzaddikim, the righteous, they're the system administrators with root access. The mitzvot, the commandments, those are literally lines of code you write to strengthen and update the firewall. And sin? Well, sin is just malware, a virus, an exploit, trying to find a vulnerability to crash the whole thing.
This analogy helps us see the dynamics so clearly. The system is always trying to balance two energies: mercy, pure giving, which we can symbolize as white light, and judgment, pure limitation, which is red light. A healthy reality needs a perfect blend. The covenant, our firewall, is what masterfully mixes these two. The generation of the flood, through their malware, completely corrupted the firewall. This caused a catastrophic surge of pure red light, unmitigated judgment. The flood wasn't just a lot of rain, it was a total system crash. So to really get a handle on how Noah managed to reboot the entire system, we're going to look at it from two different angles. First, we'll do a simple story version that works for everyone. And then we'll do the deep dive for all you cosmic engineers out there. Okay, I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. Let's just imagine for a minute that the entire universe is a massive, multi-level video game. So in this game, all the power flows from the amazing Sky Palace. Our level is the Earth Kingdom. The only thing connecting the two is a special glowing crystal called Yesod, and it's so powerful it can only be held by a true hero, a tzaddik. The whole quest is to protect the covenant of light that keeps the crystal shining. But then a nasty virus called the Great Flood infects the game and threatens to delete the whole level. So what's the solution? Our hero, Noah, is given an Ark spaceship that he can power up with the Yesod crystal, saving the core files of the game and rebooting the entire level from scratch. All right, video game controller down, time to pick up the cosmic engineering blueprints again. Because underneath that fun story, you have the actual physics of reality. And the universe really operates on the constant interplay between two fundamental opposite forces. On one hand, you have Chesed. Think of it as pure expansion, infinite mercy and giving, our white light. If you just had Chesed, it would be total chaos. On the other hand, you have Gevura. This is contraction, limitation, strict judgment, our red light. If you just had Gevura, it would lead to nothing but death and constriction. Life, existence itself, can only happen in the perfect, harmonious, dynamic balance between these two. And that ultimate harmonizer, governed by the Brit, that's Yesod. It's the engine that creates a stable reality out of these two primal forces. Now, this helps us understand something really specific about Noah's righteousness. You know, he wasn't like Abraham, who was an activist, constantly going out to change the world around him. Noah's mission was different. His righteousness was about maintaining a supreme internal stability. In a world that had gone completely off the rails into the red zone of judgment, he was the only one left who held that perfect, balanced white and red light of the covenant inside himself. He wasn't fixing the broken world. He was preserving the perfect blueprint for a new world. He was the last stable pillar standing. So now, with all of this under our belts, we can finally come full circle, back to that very first verse. These are the generations of Noah. So what was his true legacy? What was the real generation that came from him? His true legacy isn't his family tree. It's a cosmic technology. It's the living, breathing principle of Tzaddik Yesod Olam. The righteous one is the foundation of the world. He proved that a single human being, by dedicating their life to guarding that sacred point of connection, the Brit, can literally serve as the foundation that holds heaven and earth together. This means our personal integrity, our private commitment to that inner covenant, isn't just a personal matter. It has cosmic, world-sustaining consequences. That was Noah's real generation to us. Which, of course, leaves all of us with a pretty profound question to think about. If the righteous individual is the foundation of the world, what is your foundation built on? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.